Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth, and today from Cambridge we have the ESV Diadem with the Apocrypha, which is a pretty cool touch. I'll show you that in a minute, but before we get into that I want to show you why this one is an important part of the Cambridge family. Number one, we have the Topaz. Now I don't have a Topaz, I've got a couple Bibles that are really close examples. It's hard to find any that are perfect, so what I did is I did some cutouts. The Topaz is 10.25 by 7.25 inches and it has a 10-point font. The Diadem, which we'll be reviewing today, is at 8.5 by 6 inches and it has an 8.5 font. So you're sacrificing a 1.5 font size for a little bit smaller of a footprint. And then of course the Pitt Minion is a 5.75 inch and it has a 7-point font. So for another smaller footprint, you're sacrificing another 1.5 in the font size. So what this is a Pitt Minion that has been blown up just a little bit. The footprint is just slightly larger. So let's take a look. First of all, the slipcase. I am not a fan of these slipcases or dust jackets, so I always take them off. And this one is actually pretty rewarding. It does kind of reminisce a Pew Bible, but it does have the diadem engraved in there. It has Holy Bible on the cover. This is kind of a fake leather paper kind of effect. And then the spine, they did indent like some hubs, and they also put the gold stamping on the spine. It does have a single ribbon. I don't think that's quite 3/8, but it's also not the 1/8. It's kind of in between the two. Pretty nice ribbon, especially for a hardback. Headband, tailbands kind of have the yellow and gold effect. I'm not exactly sure why they went that direction because it doesn't fit the theme. I would have probably went with like a blue. But anyhow, that's what they decided. As with all hardbacks, you're going to have the squared off edges, actually nice liner. And you can see it is reinforced with some tape. So this will hold together with that bookbinder tape. And one thing to always note about Cambridge is when you get to the title page, if you don't know what size the font is, they almost always tell you that it's an 8.5 font. Now, to call this an 8.5 font is actually a little bit misleading. It is an 8.2 font, but it has an 8.5 leading space. So what that means is it reads like an 8-point font, or an 8.5 font. And that's going to be the case with most of your Cambridges. But anyhow, when you get into the layout, it is a double column layout with that 8.2, which reads like an 8.5 font. It has your references in the center with the lines breaking up the references. Now this one is not laid out like a Pitt Minion at all, so it's not a very good comparison. But I say it's probably a decent comparison to the font size. The Pitt Minion font size is going to be a 1.5 smaller. So anyhow, it has your corner textual footnotes, and I think that's really neat for several reasons. Number one, when you move into the Apocrypha, which your Orthodox and Catholic brethren are going to call the extended or Deuterocanon. Once you get into the Apocrypha, you will notice this. Check it out. It has your referencing system that references you to its Old Testament or New Testament counterparts, and it also has your textual notes, which I think is a really unique touch. So it kind of gives you an aspect of textual criticism because there is more than one textual source of the Old Testament to include the Apocrypha, with the Dead Sea Scrolls and even like your Codex Vaticanus and Codex Sinaiticus. All of those have some Old Testament references in them, and there are some slight variations which I think are incredibly important. Now this does follow the Masoretic text. Even though it does have the Apocrypha with it, the Old Testament does follow the Masoretic text in its formatting, in its translation, and everything else. That's its textual source. And then when you get to the New Testament, of course, this is the ESV, so it's going to follow the NA28. This is not going to be the received text or the Textus Receptus, as some call it. And you will notice a lot of these are heavy on the references. So what they do when they have these heavy references is sometimes they will spill them over into the corner, but then they leave a nice little space on those textual notes, which are really nice. This is a black letter edition, and again, as all hardbacks have, they have the squared off pages. During the controversy, when some of these were being rebound, they were kind of cutting these corners to kind of round them off, and that's something that can be done, but they are coming out with a premium edition of this that will have all that with the gold edges and all that good stuff in the goat skin leather. So if you hold off, you'll be able to get a really nice one and not have to pay those super high rebound prices, although they are going to be quite expensive. I think they're pushing $300 for the diadem in goat skin. So anyhow, once you get to the end, you will have your concordance. Now, this reminds me very much of Schuyler's ESV Concordance. My understanding is because each publisher has their own concordance that they put out, and you have to keep that same concordance, and they have to fit it within this text block. Now, one thing that is a little baffling to me is I do not understand why they left these huge gaps here at the top and bottom. Maybe it's because it created a width problem. I'm not really sure, but I feel like they could have probably made that font a little bit larger had they gone with that. Then finally, at the end, you have your Cambridge maps. One thing about the Cambridge that's really cool is it has a mapping index that's color-coded to let you know kind of where you are in the map world. I really think that's a cool aspect of this. And Cambridge always has a bunch of maps. They have a lot of extras that you don't see in some of your Bibles. It is a little bit shiny, but it's a little bit thicker than Bible paper, but it's not quite as thick as cardstock, full color. And you can see there are several maps in this thing. Looks like we have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 maps, and then one blank page, and then you have your closing flyleaf. So anyhow, I really like it. I love the layout. I love having the ESV with the Apocrypha. If you know anything about me, you know I love some of the old traditions. I love they put the Apocrypha in the middle of the book to make it clear that it's not part of the Old Testament or the New. So anyhow, there you have it. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nichols Worth.